Hey, good morning, everyone. Sorry that we were starting a couple minutes late. Just working out this new technology that Charles and I were talking about on Monday morning or Tuesday morning that we're having so much fun with. So, my name is Chris Lopez. I am a real estate agent at Your Castle Real Estate. I run the Denver Investment Real Estate website along with Charles Roberts. And today I have Annemarie Sunde, who is a local property management manager here in Denver with Legacy Property Management. So I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago, she came on here and did a webinar with us called the 411 of leasing. And it was great content she provided. We had lots of great Q&A. We've had lots of follow-up since then. So I asked Annemarie to come back on the webinar and do a more informal, conversational. We're having a cup of coffee around the coffee table, talking about what's going on in the market. Because, Charles and I focus a lot on the buy side of helping people. And we talk a little bit about property management, but not a whole lot. Where Annemarie, in this case, is she's in the trenches. She's doing this, day to day. So she has a different perspective and just has a different finger on the pulse of the Denver rental market. So, Annemarie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, and if you guys, anytime you have questions, throw them in the chat box. If you have trouble hearing us, please let us know. We are still getting all this equipment and all of our technology figured out. So I am totally open for constructive feedback. So, Annemarie, I know we kind of bounced around a couple different ideas here as far as what to talk about. And I know we didn't really have like a formal presentation, but I'm trying to find here where to start at. Where do we start off? Because the first thing that comes to my mind as far as rentals is you look towards the Denver skyline and you see, 2 dozen, 3 dozen cranes. I haven't counted them, but it goes past more than my 10 fingers and toes. So just what's happening in the rental market here?
So the cranes, I think are, I would say over half, perhaps with the outside of buildings being built for companies. I think that they're apartments that are going up in Denver. And that has created quite a bit of competition for investors that are still owning in the condo market. So maybe what we start talking about is what is being impacted by rental rates. What inventory is moving still really well in Denver, and why aren't things moving, i.e. condos, because of the apartments, and what's happening with those rental rates. So we can start anywhere there. I will tell you that rental rates here in Denver are still really good. So it's still a great time to be an investor and be a landlord. We are still seeing very high. I just heard this morning that we are rivaling San Diego. So San Diego rental rates are very similar to Denver rental rates now.
Is that this based on like property values or per capita income, or just kind of like in general, like a 2-bedroom rents for this much here,
correct,
rent for that
correct.
Much in San Diego?
Okay. And we, again, our portfolio, we focus quite a bit on single family homes. We do have duplexes, patio homes, and we do have some condos. I don't do any multifamily beyond a duplex, and I don't have any apartment buildings. What I will tell you is that the reason there are properties that are more in demand than others is based on who's coming into Denver. That's what's really driving the rental rates and what is in demand on the rental side.
So before we kind of jump in all those details, could you give us just a little context about the portfolio you manage? Is there like general areas of Denver you focus on? Like what's kind of like, just so everyone knows, kind of like, hey, you're on the ground in these areas with these types of properties?
Sure. So we manage, I'm going to say 80% of our portfolio are single family homes. We are as far south as Castle Rock, if you know the Denver metro. We swing out to the west, so we come into Highlands Ranch. We have a large fleet of homes in the Highlands Ranch area. We go out to the Littleton, Golden, and as far north as Arvada. And we crest right through town in downtown Denver, Cherry Creek, Highlands, Sloan's Lake. I am not particularly dominant in the east, so Aurora, those areas. We do
Okay.
have some out on the 470 corridor, but not specifically smack dab in the middle of Aurora.
And do you have much like in like downtown, or are you more like outside of downtown of that
Nope,
downtown?
I have about 4 high-rise condos in the downtown market.
Okay. So
Mhm.
you got a good feel then for I'll say the downtown.
Yep.
I don't want to say bubble in a bad way, but just the downtown area than everything else.
Yep. And those are about the only condos that will release still quicker than some of the other ones. But yes.
Okay, great. And perfect. So Julie's saying, what are the current rental rates? So let's just kind of go through that. I don't know what's easiest for you as far as, if you kind of want to, work in one geographic and go around and maybe just touch on the different areas and talk about what you're seeing there and rental rates. What do you think the easiest way to dive into it is?
So Julie, rental rates are very dependent on the clientele that are in those areas. To give you an example, a 3-bed, 4-bed, 3-bed, 1,500 plus square foot home in Highlands Ranch is probably between 23 and 2,400 a month. Go up to 4-bed, 5-bed, you're now approaching 27, 2,800 a month. I own 3 rentals in the Highlands Ranch, single family homes.
So say those numbers again. So you said
3-bed,
3-bedroom.
1,500 to 2,000 square feet. We're around 23. We can probably push it up to 2,450.
Okay. And then for 4 and 5 bedrooms?
27.
Okay. So not that big of a jump then.
No, I mean, we can right now. This is the best time of the market. So we're sitting at, the highest peak. So we're leasing some homes at 2,800. That's a 4-bedroom in Highlands Ranch. Take yourself into Wash Park. I just listed a house. It's a 3-bed. It's listed at 3,500 to give you an example. And it's about 2,300 square feet.
Okay. What about Castle Rock? I know nothing about the market down there. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So Castle Rock, if you're in the HOA coveted areas, such as the Meadows, Founders, some areas of Founders, not the older areas of Founders, it's pretty competitive and comparable to Highlands Ranch.
Okay.
If you're in the downtown, where you've got the older homes, probably not as high. People move to Castle Rock and they're usually looking for the HOA, even though the downtown area is quaint. Castle Pines will take you up higher, but if you swing yourself all the way up to Wheatridge, where I have single family and duplex, take a 4-bedroom duplex, which is as much square footage as, a 3-bedroom down in Highlands Ranch. And that one just makes a $2,000 rental.
Really? In Wheatridge, huh?
Mm-hmm. And it's a great, great community. Wheatridge is really investing in their city. But the clientele that are in Wheatridge is different than the clientele down in Highlands Ranch. It's a little more blue collar people. I mean, I have tried to push that market and we're working it up, but it's just it's indicative of who lives in the Wheatridge area. Okay. And it's no HOA. And so they're not looking for the extra perks of somebody that wants to live in Highlands Ranch or that's relocating into Denver and has heard about Parker, Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock. They hear about all these places. They finally get here and it's all families and that's where they want to settle.
So do you do much in Parker?
We have a couple. Mm-hmm.
So I've driven through Parker and, you drive by new development every 10 feet out there.
Yeah.
Just what are the numbers like out there?
Parker is tough. So I've been all the way out to the Pinery, which is a long way away. Do you know? No. Pinery is far south and far east. Okay. And it's beautiful, beautiful multi-million-dollar homes. But it takes a special someone that wants to commute all the way down Parker Road to the Pinery. Different from the new developments.
Can you pause for 1 second? Yeah. I'm actually going to do, because I don't know where the Pinery is. I'm sure some other people don't as well. I'm going to actually pull up Google Maps and we'll actually point to these areas.
Let me give you an address.
Because, if you got a specific address, even better. All right, so you guys, Great. Someone can confirm. You can see my Google Maps tab. Okay, great. I can see it on my screen now. Okay. So this is just, I know we got some out-of-state people and just, we were talking about all these little sections here and jumping around. So, okay, here's the Pinery. Okay, that is far down there.
Yeah.
So give everyone the location here. So Denver's up here in the center. Pinery is in this red down here. We're going to zoom in so we can just talk some more.
So what's interesting about Parker is Parker's kind of locked in. You don't have a lot of easy access into Parker. They keep building roads. First it was Lincoln, and then it was, I think it's Hess Road and all these roads, but they're all becoming very congested and crowded. What I always say is they need a flyover from I-25 over to Parker Road that lands you down in the Pinery area. Now, that's different from, say, Stonegate, where I have 2 properties in Stonegate, which is right here.
So we can pull up on the red.
So this is a decent community. It's older, but the home's single family. I manage a single family as well as a townhome in Stonegate, and their rent is about $24.50 on the single family home.
I'm sorry, say that number again.
$24.50.
$24.50. Okay. And just for like 3, 4 bedroom.
It's a 3 with a loft and a fully finished basement.
Okay.
So, and it's a walkout. So it's a nice community. And then they have the brand new developments, which is what people are calling like the Meridian and Stepping Stone, which is all along the I-25 corridor on the east side. Yep.
Mouse.
It's all on that side. And what a lot of people have done is they've bought new development, just like they did on the opposite side over in Lone Tree, where they did it when they were building Ridgegate near the hospital. People were buying those brand new homes and turning them into rentals. And you can capture quite a bit of rent. So, a house over there is probably going to be, somewhere in the $2,800 to $3,250 with a 4-bedroom.
And that's for a new build.
So I have one coming on that's going to probably list at $3,250. It's all been renovated, opened up. It's a 4-bed, unfinished basement, but huge basement. I mean, they could, if they finished it, it would be higher. They have amazing views. We're going to push the market a little bit, see if we can get it, but it should rent. On the map here? So that would be probably like it's the Meridian area. Yep. Right in there.
Around. Okay. So if you guys see my red, I'm talking right around that area on my good coloring skills. And so you said this is where people are buying new builds up here. I'm just curious, like what
they'll buy a brand new and
what's
put
the new build cost. So if I were to go out there and buy one, just a rough estimate.
A brand new house. I think they're priced around the low end is $450.
So buy it for $450, renting out for $3,000, $3,200.
Yeah.
Okay.
What people love about these new builds is the open floor plan, the new appliances, and new builds are going up all over the place. I mean, we leased a property today in Sloan's Lake that, to me, it was shoebox for bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and it actually had 3.5 baths. It has a rooftop. It's a townhome, so it goes straight up. It's all vertical. It has a rooftop deck in Sloan's Lake. No hot tub, but we leased it for $24.95. 1-car garage attached, brand new. Nobody's lived in it.
So literally, is that like a millennial up there, and now in Parker's more of the family type tenants?
Yeah, okay. It's going to be either a couple or 2 people that are really successful working downtown, and it's the turning area, right? Sloan's Lake has got a lot of areas that are turning and all these modern buildings going up, and that's what we leased it to.
So Julie asked here, Annemarie, do you know how much that house costs to buy in Meridian, the one that's renting for $3,250?
You'd have to go. So Meridian, I think it's Stepping Stone Meridian. I'm thinking those homes started at around 400, and some of them are probably approaching 600. I don't stay on the real estate too savvy other than when I see the signs of what they're listing at. There are still some new builds. What amazes me is in those communities, Julie, how many people buy and turn around and sell them because, they went under contract and then now their job's not coming, and they're actually not going to move here. So there's a lot of for sale homes that are not from the builder, but from people that have bought the house and then are not moving in.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah. There was for a time. It's been a while since I've driven those neighborhoods, but.
So and this is probably my own personal bias. So like I checked out Parker downtown. It's cute. It's a cool area. My wife and I said that was possibly on the radar for us to move to. We were looking for our long-term family home, raise our kids.
Mm-hmm.
The killer for me, besides, the lack of roads on there, is the damn toll road. I hate toll roads. And like, it's that, how they say like, the pain is worse than pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pain of me paying a $5 toll is like the equivalent of me paying like $100 on something else. I don't know what it is. Like it really kills me. Does any tenants or anyone ever comment on the toll road, or is this just me being me with my weird quirk?
No, nobody's ever. Honestly, when you sit in as much traffic as I do during the day, the toll road sometimes is like the oasis in the in the desert. You can't wait to just like get into wide open highway for a little bit, because if you get on the other side of I-25 and that 470 where they've ripped the entire highway up, that is not a fun commute. And that's my commute every day. So I live down south. I live in Highlands Ranch, and to me, it's worth it. Now I have to say, I've been here since the toll road went in, and it's definitely, I think it's like $20 to get to the airport now.
Yeah.
But I do it.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I will sit through traffic to avoid $5 in tolls, which is, it's a waste of my time on $1 per hour basis, but it's one of those weird quirks I have. So I always like to know if it's just me being me, or if other people, maybe I'm the eyeball here.
And I see Kim with her comment. I'm from the Bay Area as well, originally. And when I was a kid, I think it was like $1 or 50 cents to cross the Golden Gate.
What part were you from up there?
I grew up in San Francisco.
Oh, like in the city itself?
In the city.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I lived in Sacramento for a few years. So I used to go out there all the time.
Cool.
Let's see. Nikki says, lived in Parker for 20 years now. Lots of back roads to save time. So
they're building on those back roads. I hate to tell you.
I don't know, Nikki. You may want to create an ebook and charge $30 for it and start marketing to people. Give them the insider's guide shortcut.
No kidding.
So moving on to so we kind of got a good area on Parker. So we talked about Highlands Ranch. So pretty much Highlands Ranch across the board. I mean, east, west, north, south, kind of all similar rental rates.
No. And Highlands Ranch is an area that there's newer areas and older areas. I'm trying to remember. I feel like the number 80,000 houses in Highlands Ranch. It's something crazy how many people live in the ranch. There are overly rented areas, pockets in Highlands Ranch that now, and I manage in those areas. You really, it's a struggle to keep boosting your rent up. You're going to hope that you have a tenant that's been there a while or is going to continue to renew, and they just don't realize they've got a great deal or they've got a great home, and we can keep bumping up $50 a year or something like that.
So is it difficult to bump rip, or is it difficult to place a tenant?
Place a tenant.
Okay, so
if it's highly, there's a few areas in Highlands Ranch that it's almost. I've actually done a poll on non-owner occupied. There's one area that I manage, and 95% of the homes are rented.
What area is that?
Right behind Valor High School.
Can you point on the map? Because I want to give people as much context as possible here.
So where are we at? University. And essentially, I think this is University. And so then this up here is probably, right in that area.
Okay.
So not the Spaces, not the Trisana, if you guys are familiar, but right behind Valor High School and Cherry Hills Community Church. There is a pocket of homes there. And it is very highly rented. If you go there on a weekend, type in
Valor High School.
Or you can go to Aftonwood. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So we did have it right there on the map. Okay.
So what happens in this neighborhood is it's inevitable. We're just pulling out of it right now. But, when we put our sign out this spring, because both of the properties we lease in that area, so did about 3 or 4 other property management companies. And every single year, every single time, we are always the highest. I will push the envelope. I will push the market in there. There's really no reason for those other property managers to be as low as they are, other than they want to rent it fast. And I'm not saying I don't want to rent it fast, but I also want to, I think we talked about this on the 411 of leasing, but when you escalate your rent, you keep, every time you up your rent, you enter into hopefully a different level of clientele that's living in your home. And we can talk a little bit about that today, but I am all about putting beautiful homes and great tenants. And I want those tenants to be respectful of the home that they are, borrowing. That's not theirs. They're borrowing it, and they pay money to borrow it. And so what I like to do is always try to push the envelope. So keep in mind, I mentioned this on my last webinar, those people that used to apply for $1,500 to $1,600 rentals, those are the people applying at the 2,000 mark. So if you're listing at a 2,000, your pickings could be pretty slim. You could have lower credit scores. You could be chasing rent payments, none of which I enjoy doing, by the way. And so I try to always enter into the next level of clientele.
So I want to kind of dig in on this topic, and we got a few questions. I'll circle back to you guys in a minute. So for this area south of Valor High School, you're talking about like you push the envelope. So you push the envelope. I mean, my just general thing, is it take you 5 more days, 10 more days, 20 more days to rent, or can you get that granular?
Well, I'm going to give you an example.
Okay, perfect.
2 houses in there in literally I lease up. One is slightly big. Let's see.
Valor, sorry.
Wait a minute. Where am I? University. I'm turned around here. Oh, it's Fairview. So it's kind of this Aftonwood right behind the high school.
Okay. So
okay.
I'm going to highlight.
So we have 2 properties in there. One is slightly bigger than the other. One is a 3-bed. The other one is a 4-bed.
I don't know what that writing is. I hope it doesn't say something scary. I hope it's not something inappropriate. I don't know. There we go.
Okay. This year we did not have 1 day of vacancy. So we moved out the tenants on the 30th. We moved in the new tenants on the 1st in both properties. We listed the properties 45 days prior to term. We showed with our current tenants that were there in, we showed it with it, and we leased both properties. And we leased them. One is the larger one is at $2,450, and the other one is at $2,400.
And how much did you bump up the rents from the previous?
Not a lot, because I had friendly other companies across the street renting again at $2,000.
So that, and for a similar,
they're all the same house. The difference is
pretty similar.
Yeah, too? They all have like there's 2 or 3 different models, but the one that I have that's a little bigger is a finished basement with a bedroom in the basement. So it's got 1 extra bedroom.
Okay.
But they built these houses with not very large bedrooms. So that's always the complaint from most people. But we didn't miss a day of vacancy this year.
Wow, that's impressive.
And when we first listed the larger one, we got it in the winter. So we sat through a winter. It was tough to get it leased up. But now that it's leased, if we know that lease is coming up, we will list it prior to the tenants out.
And now you have on like the spring cycle.
And we're on the spring cycle.
So I know we got a couple questions here. I'm trying not to neglect them. I just wanted to dig into that. All right, so Kim says, Annemarie, if you were going to purchase a townhome to rent in the Denver area, where would you buy? And you say, I can't see the pointer or cursor. Hopefully you can see my red and whatever gibberish pops up on there.
If you were purchasing, well, the first thing that pops in, and you probably didn't want to hear, is what's your price point, because that's going to help you to determine where you're going to buy. I mean, if you can buy in an area like Highlands or Sloan's, then yeah, that would be cool.
And you would consider Highlands and Sons like a Class A? Like, what would your
Because they're scraping there, you know. And the yuppies, boy, they want to live together. They want to live up there. The millennials like to cohabitate. I do have millennials living in some pretty cute properties, 300,000. Yeah, you're probably
not in the Highlands for that.
Not in the Highlands. You're going to be, so there's great patio homes. Even
is that $300K cash to put down or $300K total with financing? We'll clarify as you keep talking.
You know, Denver's market has great patio homes and townhomes. Some of the areas that I love, but they're going to be more than the 300. You're going to need a creative realtor that's going to find you something. I love like the Willow Creek area. So that is a pocket in Centennial. Yep, go right around Willow Creek Elementary. Perfect. So the reason this is really cool and sought after, and you can command a higher rent, they have condos, and their condos are more like what we would look at as a townhome. I manage 4 properties in this one community. They have patio homes, and they have single family homes. Their HOAs do not exceed $200 a month, which is almost unheard of in most areas now. They are dated homes, but some people are renovating. I just renovated 2 of the properties for my owners. You can command a higher rent just because you're in a Cherry Creek High School district right here. They need this address to go to Cherry Creek High School. And right there out of the gate, I just listed one on my website this morning. It's the patio home, and I listed it at $26.25.
Can we pull it up and show some photos?
It's a 3-bed.
So your legacy
pmco.com, and it doesn't show the brand new master bath I just did because I pushed send to the internet. Yeah, go to Reno Search.
Yeah, so we're at legacypmco.com and clicking on rentals.
Keep going. Let's see where it's at. No, keep going.
There's one Centennial.
It's not on there. It should be. That's weird.
That's the way it works on live webinars.
It's right there. Beautiful patio home.
Okay.
Okay, this is their patio homes. So they share like a fence line. You can see it's somewhat dated. Now, this has all been closed up now. These are older pictures. So
she's pointing to the open railing on the second floor.
That's all loft. A bedroom now. It's no longer a loft.
So you fully enclose that wall to make it like
3
drywall all the way up or whatever? Okay.
Yep. So it's 3 solid bedrooms.
And was it just a simple put some drywall? That's all you have to do?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, those are nice value adds.
This is that's not. Keep going. See if I have a picture of the new kitchen. I actually, the owner spent $30,000 on a brand new kitchen. Probably going to get a new photo shoot. Yeah, you can see that this house feels very dated. These pictures are awful. These are not. So this house has been totally renovated, and we're now charging $26.25.
Right. Okay, so $26.25 for Centennial in a 3-bed, 3-bath home. Okay.
But what I love about this community is it is park-like. So there are paths throughout the community. There are pools, tennis courts. It is a very lovely community to live in, and it's very central to the DTC. It's not what we consider, south side of 470, where we start to get more Highlands Ranch. This is definitely closer to DTC. And it's just a great community. And we never, ever have issues leasing up these properties in here.
Sorry, guys. I just realized I did not have the photos up there. So we're going to go back through here real quick. Don't look good, so. And so as Annemarie is saying, these are actually the photos before the renovation, but still give you a good feel for what the home is. So I'm gonna scroll through these while we talk, just since I'm still learning how this new webinar platform works. So I will fall on
Yeah,
that fault.
so
So up here in this upper left of the picture, this open railing, she was saying this is what's been closed off now, drywall's put up, and now is the third bedroom.
that is the third bedroom,
Okay.
right? It wasn't actually, it looks like it's a loft, but it actually had 3 walls upstairs with a door into it. And then you walk in the room and you're overlooking the living room. And I thought that was so dumb. So I drywalled that in. This is a 30,000. This is the old kitchen. It's all 30,000, and now it has French doors instead of that big huge slider. This is the master, and
I don't know. I know you're saying this is pre-renovation. This house looks pretty darn nice to me.
It does. It's not that putrid yellow color anymore either.
So there we go, guys. Now we
But
can
that
see
just
the
gives
photos.
you an idea of, if you're willing to put a little bit of elbow, a little bit of money into just taking it up, you really don't have to spend a ton of money. This owner investing in the kitchen and in the bathrooms, I will tell you all day long that those patio homes are selling for renovated, I think upwards of 500 now. So,
okay. Strike 2 for me. I actually could still not see the photos. I'm so sorry, everyone. I am learning everything. So let's see here. Make sure I actually got the right one up here first. Okay. I might owe you guys some coffee here.
So the people that go to live in Highlands Ranch, Willow Creek, these are the families that are moving into Denver. And by the way, that's not necessarily to say that a place like Arvada is not going to be sought after by a family. It's going to be dictated by where they are relocating for, mostly a job. And since we have so much work between, what's the thing out by Roxborough? How come I can't think of what that's called? But all the people that are moving into the state for the different jobs that are opening up in Denver, that's where they're seeking and, seeking to live nearby. And families is what's coming in, or at least what we're placing. So that's why the single family homes are in such high demand.
So I'm going to interrupt you one more time, Annemarie. So this photo has the railing that's been taken down and basically just put drywall up. So probably a $1,500, $2,000 job. I mean, not a whole lot of money for.
Not even that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm overbidding because
I probably cost less than $1,000 to do that.
So yeah, so say $1,000 to do that to make a 3-bedroom, which definitely ups the rent.
The whole house is now not that brownish color. It's all gray. The floors have been refinished. I mean, it's a beautiful home now.
And just so for good measure, here is the link so everyone can go to Annemarie's website, or just go to legacypmco.com and click on listings. And it's the Willow, it's the Rosemary Circle and Centennial address. Great. So let me just scan the questions here because I see lots of people saying I can't see the photos, and yeah, that's my fault. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me.
I think one of the who's that? Julie asked which properties are recently becoming popular and not as expensive to buy. That would be a Wheatridge. If I were an investor, so one of my investors bought a duplex, and he bought that for cash. He got it for $500,000. We did renovate. He did put some money into, especially one side. We put money on both sides, but the one side was, I'm talking, a 90-year-old woman owned the entire building, and she'd been in there. We had purple toilets. I mean, it was rough. And we renovated the one side, and it is now a 4 bedroom. And that one's leased at just under 2,000. And then on the other side, it's leased at 1,800, and it's a 3-bedroom.
So that's post renovation.
Post
So
renovation.
that's about 3,600 total. I'm just curious. Do you know what the approximate renovation costs were?
He spent, I would say, 50 grand.
Okay, so then about 550. Okay. I'm gonna do some math, and I'm curious what the cap rate is. My mind's always a cap rate. You don't know the basic numbers on there. We could plug in a spreadsheet like basic taxes, insurance. Could we do some quick math? Do you think? Or
I don't know.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
No, I don't know.
I don't
remember
things
that.
up. Okay.
He's a big investor, but he owns 7 properties in Denver, in the metro area. But I like Wheatridge. There's pockets, and they, over by Kipling and 32nd ish, I think is where we're thinking. And what's cool is there's a brand new Starbucks, there's a Sprouts. I mean, they're definitely putting things in, and these older homes. I love duplexes. I think they're cute little places to, yeah.
This is killing. I'm sorry, guys. I use the software for years. I don't know what's going on with it.
So that would be a good area. If you can find a home or like a townhome, that would be a place if your budget is limited. But I would say Wheatridge's prices probably haven't reached something as high as, say, like Highlands Ranch, Castle Rock, Centennial.
So a couple other questions in here. Lou asked, is listing 45 days prior to term optimal, and what are the best months to list?
Optimal meaning my initial response is, yeah, it's optimal. Are you thinking like you should go longer, should go shorter? So prompt me with a question on that. Summer months. So the hottest rental months for Denver is March, April, May. And here's why, especially if you're in a single family home. Moms are planners, and moms need a lease by June 1 to register their kiddos, because we close in schools for the month of July and we start school early August. So if they are having control of their time when they're relocating or moving, meaning they're coming into the state, which there are those that come in at all times of the year because they can't control their job. But if they have control, then their pick is to be leased up or have a lease in hand by June 1. So we can command a higher rental rate, not July, August, but March, April, May. That's why we have just pulling out of the most craziest time. To give you an example, April 30th, we had 10 move outs, and May 1st, we had 11 move ins. And most of those were the same properties, with the exception of one new one. So it was complete craziness for us.
So follow-up question from her. Thank you. What about for non-family tenants?
Yeah, they don't get, so always Denver's most activity is spring for rents. It's usually when we can command the highest. That doesn't mean that something like my downtown condos, because it's not really impacted by a school because of kiddos, they will lease any time of the year. But people tend to be more transient in the spring and early summer. So I would try to end your leases sometime we always try to end our leases end of March through end of June. That's prime time. Is posting your...
And their question, follow-up question is, posting your listing 45 days prior to term best? And that was a quick yes from Annemarie.
You people look 45, maybe 60 days. You as an owner don't want to be vacant for, we have people coming in, and if I've got a vacant property right now, let's say, and they say, great, today's May 15th. I don't need it till August 1st. And we look at them and we say, are you kidding me? Because all I say is, well, I hope this property is not available for you, because that would be suicide for my owner to hold it for 2 more months for you. Yes. So we always create overlap. It is a lot of work for us. I am learning that I am not the norm in town with regard to leasing this way. Most management companies, I have now learned in the past 2 weeks, they want a vacancy time to renovate or to clean up. And the way we look at it is, if we have a 60-day notice with our tenants and we list 45 days prior, every time we're in the property, we're doing a punch list of items we can physically see before the tenants are out, of things we're going to have to do. And then if we need 1 or 2 days at the end of the month, or sorry, at the beginning of the next month before new tenants come in, we'll take that, but we try very hard not to do that to our owners. So we're mobilizing our crews, and if we can fix it while tenants are in there, we'll do that too.
So a question
No.
from Nikki. She says, do you ever rent out individual rooms in a property for single people?
No. I don't I don't have the bandwidth to do that. I don't no.
I mean, I know a couple people that are doing it. I'll say they're more to stereotype it. They're single guys in their 20s doing the air quotes house hacking thing, where I know a couple guys, they own a house in Arvada, and it's basically, they call it beds and heads. So, hey, if they can find a 5-bedroom place, they live in one, they rent out the other 4 rooms individually. It's a lot more like management intensive. But I mean, the cash flow they're making is just astronomical. So I know some people doing it, but I've talked to a few property managers. I haven't seen any that want to deal with that headache. I mean, it's got to be a lot of work. I mean,
it's a lot of work to screen people. Yeah. We have very few roommate situations in our properties. I think I have like 3. And if a roommate bails out, we never write individual leases. We don't live in a college town. I know Boulder's a college town, but I don't manage up in Boulder. And when I did, I'd never allowed students in the properties. That was owner driven. But we write our leases. If they're roommates, they're all on the same lease. So if someone's going to move out and everyone else is going to stay in and they're going to replace a roommate, then they have to go through the application, screening, and approval process before they're allowed on a lease or in the property. And so to do that with rooms that are just constantly a revolving door makes my head spin. So, yeah.
So I know we have more questions coming in. I'm going to circle back to you guys in a second. I kind of want to finish our just loop around Denver.
Yeah.
I know we kind of talked
someone was asking about other areas, Wheatridge. Yeah. And so Arvada.
You pull it up on the map just so people know what we're talking about, which is just north of Wheatridge, Colorado. Oh, I don't know.
It's not a small area. But there's really cute pockets of Arvada. I love downtown Arvada. We do have 3 properties in Arvada, which are really cute. Another area that's becoming kind of the place, but it's not necessarily cheap, is, interestingly enough, it's the Reunion, which is Commerce City, and it's pretty far north. People are buying there. We have 1 property in there. They're nice homes. But it kind of sometimes holds that astigmatism. If you're not from here, you might not appreciate Commerce City as very industrial. And so people think, ooh, who would live in Commerce City? It's too bad that it's actually Commerce City.
So up here is Commerce City, way up here north of the Rocky Mountain. I didn't even know that was Commerce City myself up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Commerce City extends then way up there.
Yeah, it's pretty far.
Okay.
So
I'm going to ask you to go back to Arvada. What are the basic rental rates you're seeing there? What are the types of homes?
So Arvada is an area that is that is an area that spans the gamut from something like blue collar down by the I-70 corridor. And then you move up and there's pockets of that will be, that will rival kind of Highlands Ranch areas. So, we've managed and leased out townhomes in Arvada. We manage a couple of little single family old homes near Old Town Arvada. And then there are new builds that, have occurred, and we've managed those. So it runs the gamut, just depending on the age of your home, the size of your home, and where you're at in Arvada allows you to kind of command and rent anywhere probably from about $2,000 up.
Okay. So 3-2, probably $2,000 ish.
If you're in those nicer HOA controlled areas, then you're probably pushing into the 25 with a 3-bed and then going up from there.
Okay. We'll jump back to some questions here. So is it Eileen or Ellen? I can't see the print small, but she says, excuse me, what would the rental rate be for a single family home in Wheatridge?
Yeah, a single family. My best comparison is that duplex that I have because, a 4-bed, usually duplexes are not as big as that 4-bed. There's a lot of square footage in that. I'm going to say, though, I learned my lesson with Wheatridge. I'm going to say you're not as high. If single family home 3-bed, you're probably going to be around 18 to $2,000. It's not as high as, say, a Highlands Ranch.
So Kim says, Annemarie, what percentage do you charge to manage a property? And I know you have a couple different tiers that you do, right?
Yeah, the most common is the 8.9%. So industry standard is 8 to 10%. If you're an investor with us and we manage more than 3 or more properties, we adjust our percentages for you. And we do have several investors where we manage 3, 4, and 5 properties for one person.
So I see your website's really well put together. So I've seen it on here. So if you go to Legacy PMCO pricing, that was too obvious for me to click on. Yeah. So here's a couple rundown you guys can go on here, which I actually really like because a lot of property managers are not as clear as this. So I appreciate that from the investor standpoint and also from the marketing standpoint. I like that. So good job. So let's go back to the questions here. Yeah, see, this is why I was trying to avoid all. Okay, we're figuring this out. So Nikki was saying, I think that'd be a market for it. That was, and I think it'd be a nightmare for the single rooms. I think there is. I know people do, but it's a lot of Craigslist work. Yeah, Kim says your site is much better than those I've seen, by the way.
Thank you.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Annemarie. So you have $100,000 to invest right now for a down payment. Where would you buy?
Well, I'm preference. I really like Highlands Ranch. That I know the area very well, and I know it will rent. I like Highlands Ranch, and I did like the Wheatridge area. I love that little duplex. It's not little, but it's a great community there, and they're building and investing so much in the community with cul-de-sacs. Yeah, it's a cute area. But I where I live, I always tend to buy my properties near where I live because if I've got to be there, then it's not a hassle to get there. My properties are paying out really well. I do like Littleton. So Highlands Ranch, for me, Highlands Ranch, Littleton, downtown Littleton, all of those areas, those are kind of all one and the same. I owned one rental in Littleton. I did sell that because it was only a 2-bed and I sold it a year ago, just when the market was going nuts, because I knew I was kind of capped on my rent rate. But there's, so from a rental perspective and managing rentals, if you can find a good patio home that, and there are communities like in Littleton that have very low HOA. The HOA covers, the landscaping in the front of the house, snow removal, trash, watering your yard, and all you're doing, and it looks like a single family home, but it's considered a patio home. It's such a good investment, and you can rent those out for anywhere. If it's a 4-bed, probably close to $2,500 a month. That's such an amazing investment to me. You're not paying a ton on HOA. If you can get it for, we have one we have a real estate team on the other side of the management side, and we have one listed in that community right now, and it's under 400,000, and I think it's a 3-bed. And I all day long that probably could rent out for $2,300 to $2,400 a month, and it's a 154 HOA
So do you
attached 2-car.
on some of those HOAs in the areas, like I'll say the Class A, Class B areas. Like I ran into this in Florida when I used to live there. A lot of the condo associations, everything in Florida is HOA, and it was very common to see rules out there that only a certain percentage of units could be rented. So even if I bought the property when it was at all the units were 9% of units were rental properties, and moved out 3 years later, but it went above that 10% or 15% threshold, they said, oh nope, you can't rent it now because the overall makeup of the complex is above X percentage of that. And I haven't seen that here in Denver yet, but I'm curious, have you come across that in any of the places?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Because we were actually talking with an investor in Florida, and it brought back flashbacks to me from I used to live in Florida. So I'm curious. Okay. So a couple other questions here. Sophie says, other than the 8-9% management fee, what is your fee for putting a tenant in each time where there's turnover? So basically pure tenant placement and you're self-managing.
Right. So you're talking about leasing versus property management. Property management is the 8.9. It's on my website. The first time we lease up a property, we charge an 80% of 1 month's rent. We are not the cheapest in town, but we don't do it like everybody else in town. And so I would, if you're just going to have us lease only and not manage, then we do a 1 full month's rent. But if we discount that right here, the first line under 8.9 is discounted leasing it to 80%. Second time we do that, we lower that rate, the 80%. I would just tell you, if you're interested in having some conversation with us, reach out to me, or one of my property managers, and we can have a conversation with you about what that would look like for you specifically. But I'm very transparent with what I charge and what my rates are. I know we do a phenomenal job, and I almost feel like I'm on this mission to place good tenants, because I've brought on 6 properties last month, and 4 of them were previously managed by another company that those people that they placed in those houses had no business being in those homes, and they destroyed them. And there's literally no reason for it. There's plenty of opportunity for people. There's good tenants out there.
So Julie says, Annemarie, what is a very common tenant problem that you see often, and what do you do to help prevent it?
What is a very common tenant problem? I don't see one particular problem. Are you talking about, I don't even know. Can you give me a little bit more? If you're thinking like maintenance items,
damage to the property.
So I'm just going to tell you, I don't have my properties damaged. Now, when I pick up somebody else's, that runs the gamut. But typically, the most common is it's because the management company was not inside the property. That's really what it was. They gave them full carte blanche and never went inside to look and see what was going on. And we don't do that. We go in every 6 months and do what we love to call sanity checks. And we do that for a lot of reasons, but the biggest one would be, first, we want to be in compliance. So we want to check for liability. When a smoke detector chirps, tenants love to rip them down, and we don't let them.
I remember those days when I used to rent. Yes, we do.
Yes. And then we now have this little thing called marijuana in our state. And so we don't let grows happen. And so have I found marijuana in my rentals to be a problem? No. I've had one grow. It was an inherited property, and he was out 2 months later. I don't allow grows. I have had tenants get approved and then won't sign my lease because it says no growing, and they decided not to disclose that and then couldn't sign the lease. So that I've watched them walk away. but we won't allow any of that. We don't allow. So damage to the property, carpeting is something that usually gets damaged. And there's a line between wear and tear. So I really try to help owners on what things they need to do to kind of be preventative of that. And then quite frankly, we can't tell people how clean they should be, but we certainly document if they're not being clean. I have one family, they're not very clean, and they have jelly beans all over the place in the basement. So I
Like just on the floor?
Yeah, because they have kiddos. And I've photographed it every time. So in the event that he calls me and says, "Oh, I have mice," I'm going to send him a picture of his jelly beans and say, "I'm sure you do. Call an exterminator. I'm not paying for that." So, people are, I mean, for the most part, we set a high level of expectation. And when you move them in with a high level of expectation and a very clean slate of property, then my tenants turn it back with the exception of a little bit of wear and tear. And yeah.
So we're going to wrap up here. We got one more question, then we'll close things out. The question is, Sophie says, how are the areas between Santa Fe and Lakewood, like Athmore Park? The house price is relatively low, but wonder what the rent would be.
Where is that?
So right here, I guess.
Is that considered Lakewood? No, that's not considered Lakewood.
That looks like Google says it's Denver. So it's north of Ruby Hill. That's got to be Denver.
I don't know what the rent rates are, and if you had a property in mind, we can look at some rental rates. Just looking at that little house that Chris just pulled up, I'd say that's not a very highly rentable place. Let me tell you a little bit about what I know about Lakewood. There's good pockets and bad pockets of Lakewood. Good pocket would be Belmar. Other pockets, you start getting near the university and you could have student housing, the Christian University over there. I don't have issues with Lakewood, but Lakewood's one of those areas where sometimes it's hard to get the amount of rent one thinks you should be able to get. I am actually headed to a property this afternoon that is Lakewood. And on paper, it looks like the house, it's a single family 4-bed. The house should probably be about $2,800. The rent rates are showing very good. But I've learned my lesson with Lakewood because I get in the neighborhood and I drive the area. And then I see what people would be willing to pay for. And sometimes I'm disappointed. But I know that Lakewood, there are areas that have pretty good deals from an investor standpoint. So I get that.
Now, I know we got a few more questions rolling in. And sorry, guys, we have to wrap things up. We both have appointments after this. I'm sure you can reach out to Annemarie and ask us questions directly if you wanted to. Sure. And hopefully we'll make this maybe every couple of months, we'll bring her back on here, get her perspective, answer questions. I've learned a lot. It's been very insightful. So thank you. And I would highly recommend for investors out there, hey, the sooner you talk to a property manager, the better. That way you're in coordination with properties and areas you look in, and you know that they want to manage it and they give you their insight into it. And especially sit down if you're a realtor investor, hey, all three sit down together, discuss, come up with your plan. That way everyone's on the same page. So if you're a realtor out there, get with your client, sit down with Annemarie, another property manager. And I got a few people on here too. If you guys want to sit down with me and Annemarie, let's do it. That is just a great way to get details figured out and have a plan moving forward.
I can give you my office number is 720-445-9515. I'm extension 1. And our email is info@legacypmco.com, or you can go on my website and fill out a little information and it'll shoot over to me and we can have a conversation about anything that you would like to have some conversation about. But yeah, you guys have had really great questions. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. Well, everyone, thank you. Annemarie, thank you. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine.